We are a simulation product. We are always going to err on the side of football.
And that was just one of the biggest takeaways from my interview with lead gameplay developer for both college football and Madden 27. We covered everything from defense to AI to blocking to community feedback.
I don't think anybody's wrong. People have a way that they see the game.
And even what's coming in the future of the game. Let's jump into it. I'm here with Scott O'Gallagher, Senior Design Director for both college football and Madden, more so focused on the gameplay side of things. And today I've got an interview with him, a bunch of questions I want to ask him about the current state of the game, where he sees the game going in the future. Scott, welcome. Tell him a little bit about yourself, your background, so that they know that not only do you know video games, but you know ball also.
Appreciate it. It's good to be on here. I know there's a lot of football enthusiasts, football video game fans on here as well. So background started here, back to help to get the NBA Live franchise going. Went to 2K. That's where a lot of you guys had remember me by, and then came back to EA just right in that COVID time to help get college football off the ground. So college football 25 was it, and then I joined gameplay on both ends to take the lead there, more or less about January of last year on 26. So we're going on about a year and a half now, and we're rolling. Before that, played professional basketball overseas, but football has always been a love. And people didn't believe me when I was saying it in Chicago. Haven't missed a Rams game in 30 years. So whether I was in Turkey or Yamble, Bulgaria, having to stream my games to make sure that I still watched all my Rams. But I was actually recruited to play football out of high school.
I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah, so football was it. Came from a big football high school, and football's everything out there. So that's what we did, and that's where I literally thought I was going till probably about the end of my senior year.
So the first question, I just right out the gate before we get in just to specifics of this year and maybe where we're going in the future, what is your vision for college football and Madden? Like, how do you see the game versus maybe how other people saw it before you, or just like, what are you trying to deliver, like in maybe the most simplest way possible?
Great question. I think it's all fixing football problems with football solutions. We are Madden in college, and so we live in the house of simulation. And that's basically what we've been trying to drive. I think you saw that in Chicago, that you guys in particular community had asked for consistency, especially within features and just making core football. And that's really what we've been trying to do in terms of that vision, really replicate what we see on Saturday and Sunday. And I think ultimately, Eric, if we do that, and we are certainly doing that, fun is going to be there. I don't really like our design guys using it, and we have a great team, and I'll tell them they don't use fun because fun is relative, right? You got this audience over here that wants it. You got a really competitive audience that wants those things. So fun can mean different things in the design world. But I think we're definitely on the vision, like without question.
I like to hear that. Yeah, I mean, everything's really subjective. What's fun for one person isn't fun for another person. Yeah, and you know that when it comes to, I think the 50-50 ball is the greatest example of this for football gaming, right? You have half of people that say there's too many 50-50 balls that get caught, and then the other half saying I never catch them. They hardly ever happen because some people believe if there's coverage, it's a video game, it shouldn't be rewarded. And then the other half say, well, 50-50 balls happen a lot in real life. If I, have a really good receiver like Jeremiah Smith, he should be able to win that 50-50. So it's all subjective at the end of the day. And I think that's why you got to stay grounded in your principles of building, just the proper playing game from a football perspective.
It's just that. I think there's two. I think all the intentions are really good. The community, at least the guys I'm interacting with on X and things of that nature are, my interactions, you're in them and see it like they're, you get a couple things here and there that you don't like, but that's with anything, right? And so the intentions are good, but again, like the sport of football will tell you it. And again, I grew up, my background going back to Tecmo Bowl and, playing that and, taking stats of RBI baseball and stuff on a notebook. Just the way that these things have evolved and really taken off. Yeah, that's it. Just make what we're supposed to make in terms of, being authentic to the game. And I think that, the fans and stuff will appreciate it. And that's really what we've been trying to do. But, I don't see a lot of guys playing 15-minute quarters. at the same time,
Fair, yeah.
right? So it's like, they'll take their own kind of liberties of what, sim is. But I respect any type of play that people want to play. They want to play 3-minute quarters, this, or do whatever. I have my style of play that is, a very simulation.
So with that said, I want to know, what was the biggest problem you were trying to solve with the games this year? Not necessarily what the biggest feature is. What's the biggest problem you would say that you wanted to go after and you feel like you solved it this year?
Defense, without question, right? And so I think that was the most exciting part about what we were doing, or the event in Chicago, was like, we're just talking football. That's it. We're just talking football. So you look at defense, and I think things like coverage. We're allowing. We had introduced route stems, things of that. So you're putting the defense in a tough spot. And our attack method there, both from who we hired to our attack plan. But we have one core EA philosophy, because you're meeting with coordinators and coaches, all around the country, both in college and in the NFL, right? And so it was just important to understand what is new, understand where the game is going, but more or less of like that we have kind of our core philosophy, core language going on, because you got Pete Carroll's cover 3 different than maybe a traditional cover 3, and so you're like, okay, how are we going to start to implement these things to be as authentic as we can? And college is going to be open, but we saw with Indiana, right, they had a top 5 defense this year.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, and people want that. And again, when you talk about fun, for a lot of people, that balance is what makes the game fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing I noticed playing. I was struggling in the little bit of time that I got to play in Chicago, and with some of the early capture that I had, I was struggling even on, like, not Heisman, on All-American. I'm throwing interceptions, and I'm sure we're gonna get in the lab, we're gonna figure out what to do,
Sure.
and then it's your job to figure out how to tighten it up, But it's definitely out of the box. I think defensively the toughest game I've played so far. So I'm curious to see how it's gonna unfold as the year goes on. But with that said, we know the defense was like your big thing this year, but let's just say 3 features. What 3 features are you the most proud of this year? Could be either side of the ball.
Let's see. So first, I wouldn't probably say, without question, it's custom adjustments. I think you could put custom adjustments in terms of its overall impact, from an 8-year-old that comes into the game to somebody in their 50s who's been playing it, since the early Madden days. Early Sega Genesis days. I think there's something there. I think that feature, in the realms of how impactful it's going to be, I would put it up there with any of them. That would probably be the first one. Smart zones would be the second one. I know you've been messing around with quite a bit of those. So I think that would be the second one. And then pre-play controls. Just how much more efficient. I actually am super excited about the response that we got to those, because you're changing muscle memory mostly on the defensive side for 20 years.
I remember when you told me a while back that was something you were considering doing. I was like, I said, I don't know, man. Like, people don't like when you change the controller and you change things around. Like, that is something gamers hate. I remember you saying, yeah, but when you see how much easier it's going to be, I think you're going to like it. We want to make it easier, not harder. And after playing the game for an hour, immediately I was like, oh, this is actually so much easier. There's a few things you got to relearn memory-wise, but once you do, you have so much more control now, because what took 8 clicks now, in some situations, take 2, 3, or 4, which is a huge deal.
Totally. We were getting guys, from executives and guys coming in who just play the heck out of our game. And, it was literally like, I'm trying to double team. Or, they're asking the right questions. And you got to it as like, why is it taking the Contra code to basically double team Justin Jefferson or whatever, and then that's just an example. So it's just, we had to make it efficient. We had cameras and subs on up and down on the D-pad, but yet we had changing your linebackers and D linemen on the right and left. Like, it just didn't make any sense. And then we put it through everything possible. We had tested 5, 6, 7 different iterations of that control. And so just to try to test it out. So I like the way that we approached. It was a very old school development approach. And we just went in, tested, failed fast, and then got to everybody. How many competitive guys that we got in this building, right?
Right.
And so, pleasing them, and then also saying, hey, that you could also go here So it's hard to get a one size fits all, but I think we got pretty damn close.
With that said, we talked about those three things, and it could be one. The answer to this question could be one of those three, or it could be something else. But I want to ask you, what do you think is something, maybe a smaller thing you did this year that might go under the radar, like it doesn't get as much marketing, maybe, or like a lot of buzz, but it's something you're gonna really know and appreciate after you play like 100 games deep. You're gonna be like, man, this little thing right here, this change actually was a really important one. In the beginning, you thought like, it's just kind of some extra stuff, but it wound up being, a big deal.
I think initially and I'm seeing some review videos, so I've seen some videos come out on it, but more or less, I think the machine learning ball carrier with the CPU, really trying to make that feel more human. I know I'd mentioned it there. I think that one may go, I think when you play it, you're going to see it. But I think initially it's like, oh, okay, that sounds cool. It's got a tech name behind it. But I think the guys who have actually played it and gone against it, it's like, oh, wow. Okay. And again, for some of those, I know that I had read or saw, like, again, we trained it with some of the best that are in here. But that doesn't mean that, like, your 72 overall running back is turning into Gale Sayers. Like, that's not happening. We're still looking at vision and who can get into what lanes, but it's just more or less of the increasing the intelligence. And then again, we talked about it. I talked about it when I was on stage. The DB wide receiver jostle stuff I think is really cool. Changes the defense. I think you heard me say it, but how that's changing timing of the routes and really making the defense both look and feel authentic.
I'm actually surprised you said the AI. I didn't think that's where you were going with it, but that is important because I feel like some of that stuff got overlooked for a lot of years. I know, like the offline guys, like my guy Mills, always pounding the table for stuff
Mills.
Like that. Yeah, and it's like sometimes I mean, like I forget because I'm more of an online player, but like more people play offline than online, and if the AI is doing nonsensical stuff, I mean that just takes them out of the game. So I'm glad that work was done there because so much work is usually focused on what are players doing versus other players to like abuse the game. Let's change that. But you've got this other group of players that's like, I just want a realistic experience, and the running back is not hitting the hole right. So it's good that work was done there, and from what I saw, it looks good.
Awesome. And two, like, I mean, I'm one of those, even though I'm making it in the game with our awesome team, like I'm playing hundreds of games of Road to the College Football Playoff. That is like one of my babies when it comes to on the mode side. And eventually my goal has always been, and I would say our goal, we want that CPU to be like a guy like yourself, or some of our even esport guys can go in and play like, man, that was a really tough matchup authentically, not cheating them, not doing any of that. That's the goal.
If you were to say, like, you've been here for longer than 3 years, but we've kind of known you as being back when 25 dropped, but so just going back 3 years, basically when college 25 dropped till now, what do you think is the biggest change in the game? Like if we went back and played the games 2-3 years ago versus playing these games today, what do you feel has actually changed the most? Like what are you most proud of in that kind of time span? Because we know with games that are yearly, y'all kind of sometimes work in 3-year windows. Like it's a bigger plan.
I think in 25, that was an awesome game to make, a little nerve-wracking. In the fact of, you remember the anticipation. I mean, shoot, you were doing videos, I think like a year ahead of time, probably.
A few years ahead of time.
Really? Yeah. Yep. I mean, the content was up, the expectations were like through the roof. So trying to match that. And I always say, and I got a lot of great guys in this building that will back it up and have said it as well, of like gameplay is presentation and presentation is gameplay. And like the pageantry coming together, home field advantage, like all those stuff play into the gameplay. But you look at like putting in systems like wear and tear, the switch stick, revamp passing, custom stems, like the list just goes on and on and on. And then if I even get into the all the enhancements with offensive line, and yes, there's things that happen then there, but just all the half slide, full slide, where we've taken the game from a mechanic perspective and an authenticity perspective, I'll put in a 3-year span with anything that it's done confidently. And our guys have worked incredibly hard. And I was, it's not arrogance, it's just confidence. Guys worked, and I think we had a good plan, took some chances, hit those chances. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. The hit rate is pretty high.
Yeah, and
And
well,
so I'm happy about that.
and what I've noticed is it seems like since you've been there, it seems like more is getting done year to year than before you got there. I mean, that's I've been covering the games for 10 years now, and some years are better than others. But if it seems like since you got there, I mean, at least just from a gameplay standpoint, we've gotten so many new things that it's like, how did we not have this before? Things like the switch stick, now custom adjustments, remapping the buttons and making them, more seamless, custom route stems, custom zones, just even unlocking more hot routes for the QBs where before we couldn't do that. The tiered ability system, which now Madden is even taking that because it's the preferred system. Like, there's so many things in these few years that you think we would have maybe had already. Maybe there were some complications before. I'm not sure. But it seems like a lot more is getting done. Maybe, I don't know if that's just a different vision, putting different people in places to, get the most out of them. But there is a noticeable change, I feel like, to me, since you've joined the team.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Individual honors come with team success. And so we got a lot of dope guys and girls on this team. And so I think a lot of that's been there. We've changed a bit of how we do things, certainly erring on, a lot of people, just everybody's hands in debt, all on, everybody trying to be content creators, putting stuff in, a lot of collaboration there was before, but just really, I don't know, on my end, just failing fast, getting out there, trying a bunch of new stuff. We have had multiple different, passing iterations that didn't ship, other mechanics that haven't shipped. So, I mean, there's a lot there. Superly proud of the team and everywhere else. Still a long way to go in this, and that's where I'm really excited. And this was a year that I was looking forward to, as I told you.
I'm curious because everybody, in your position, they have a certain way they see things. Is there like a certain hill that you're just going to always die on when it could be like over a feature or just maybe an entire philosophy? Like maybe even some things that some people on your staff or, certainly even some people in the community might disagree with. But for you, it's kind of like a non-negotiable that like, I don't care how you feel. This is football or this is whatever, and the game needs to have this.
Good question. That would be always dying on the hill of balance. Everything starts and ends with balance. And then fixing football problems with football solutions, as I alluded to earlier. That's the big one. Anytime there is something, well, how would it get stopped in the NFL or college? That was why we put wear and tear in immediately. And again, more of a simulation feature, but it's a balance feature. You how many thousands of games you played online before that thing had come around? Like, outside of a pick or a fumble, what reward did the defense have?
Right, not much.
Guys are dropping back before I go back to 24 and they're dropping back 15, 20 yards. They're getting crushed. They want to throw it 50 times a game, even though they're getting popped every play. So I just thought that just the landscape of balance, and then obviously how you tune it is always key. Not going to overtune. To your point, there's a core philosophy on where we're going to go. And then everybody is collectively in the pot on how we get there. I think one of the big things, even going back to your earlier question, is like our leadership, our executive leadership, like they've been awesome. I've been backed like the entire way. I rarely there'll be things they'll certainly challenge you on, but you're confident in your approach, and a goal without a plan is just a wish. And so we're pretty locked in.
That's kind of good because that leads to my next question. Like, how do you feel about title updates? Because that's one way that sometimes you do create balance and like something's overpowered, let's tweak it. And people feel differently because, you see a lot of people when the game drops, they're like, we need the title update to fix this or fix that, because there's always going to be bugs. But then there's a lot of people that don't like title updates because they're like, well, when the title update comes out, then sometimes something else gets messed up. So what's your just overall thoughts on them? Obviously, they're a part of every game now, but just curious what you think about them.
I think there's some validity in some of it, but like most of it, I don't want to say I definitely don't roll my eyes at. Like, I get it. I was a community guy, so I've always, and a lot of our guys have been. You know a lot of the guys that help make this game. So we always try to keep the community hat on. But even when I was on basketball for all those years, there was a lot of placebo stuff, right? You're fixing body up, so you're fixing something in transition defense, and then they're telling you shooting changed, and it didn't change. So, there's definitely that. There's some things where things unfortunately break or something like that, but I feel like that's more the exception than the rule. You try to tune things in the sake of, balance. If you remember the juck and spin years ago, Then we got that, and it was like,
That was a lot of fun.
so
It was a
yeah,
lot
so
of
some
fun.
people loved it, right? But it was just like, hey, we needed to, to bring that in, and we did, and that was it. But like, that's kind of my stance on it. I think it's always making the game better. Like in my opinion, doesn't mean I'm 100% right in certain roles. Hey, do you remember back in 25 patch 4 and this happened? Like, no, I can't recall that. I got too many kids. But
Yeah.
there's certainly like, hey, we're sitting on this. We got this change. We've listened to enough feedback. It's gone through QA multiple times, different levels of QA, because you got, guys that have won tournaments out here. We have some really talented guys. And usually we're like, hey, how does this feel? Do you got the sign off here? This looks good to me in the tons of games that I've played on it. And then, so we're doing a lot of different, testing there. Doesn't mean some stuff doesn't just, slip through the cracks here and there, but I'm talking about more or less from 25 on here that I'm talking about. I can't speak to stuff before that.
For sure, for sure. So I'm curious, in your opinion, because you're a hands-on guy. Like a lot of times, people that they can be like in creative positions, they're more so just directing on this is what it should do, this is what it should look like. But you actually are hands-on and work on the game as well as having like the football knowledge side, which I think is cool because you don't always get that. A good engineer might not be a football guy. That's just kind of how it is. But I'm curious, what is the hardest part about football to accurately replicate in the game, whether it's tackling, pursuit, offensive line play? Like what thing is the hardest to get close to real life?
Good question. Probably tackling, I think. Tackling, because I mean, like, you look at all the awesome work that was done in the trenches this year. You got the tush push and all the 2P, 3P, 4 player animations that are going on in there, and resolving that with physics and people on top of bodies, and then trying to make that look good too, because I mean, you got your camera, your post-play cameras and things popping up, showcasing it off. I think that's it. Line play, I know guys probably watching this, why aren't line play is like, it's so similar to real life. You got these guys, like, I've always joked that in another life, maybe I'm a left tackle and I've made 200 something million dollars because I could walk in a mall and no one knows who I am, right? And sometimes when it comes to like line play, it's the best when no one says anything. And there's so many different permutations, right? And guys are playing also in God mode. They're loading up the A gap and then they're bailing to the second level and third. So, but I would lean tackling just due to the sport.
Now, speaking of line play, I feel like the line is the most criticized part of gameplay. I mean, tackling, in pursuit gets in defense, but I think this year defense maybe won't be as criticized as much now that all that work's been done. But line play, yeah. I think that's the comment I see the most. They got to fix blocking. And I'm curious, like, do you think that there's still more work to do there? Do you think that maybe some of it's misunderstood? Because, I mean, I can see both sides. There's sometimes where it's like, man, the guy completely missed the block. But then, I tell myself, it's a video game. That's going to happen sometimes. Yep. But also, the funny thing is, like, when I'm watching my Saints on Sunday, there's at least 2 or 3 times throughout the game where I'm like, that looked like a Madden kind of thing. Like, the guy was turned around the wrong way or was blocking his own guy. Like, it happens. And I think because it's a game where, like, well, you should be able to program them to never do that stuff. But I'm just curious what you think about it, because I do think it's an area that could be better. But I also don't think it's quite as bad as everybody maybe thinks it is. But I'm curious, what is your take on it?
No, I mean, there's certain things that definitely pop up, but in terms of the feature set, the ability stuff that you got, all the different content that you look in that's been playing the last couple of years, like I'd see people complain about, oh, blocking is this or whatever, and it would be like a miss in open field, right? That would be it. You throw an RPO or you get out in the open field and he picks the guy 45 degrees left instead of the guy ahead of him, when you would naturally think he'd pick the guy ahead of him. So it's little stuff like that, but like I couldn't be, like, especially this year, right? And all the things, I know that a lot of people were, pretty pleased about it. So I'm excited. A lot of it, I feel like, again, I go back to the even basketball space. It's like transition defense, very similar. In that realm, there's so many different permutations and calls and guys loading up and the user going in. So then, hey, untarget the user on all these different options now that you can do. Again, I mentioned before, half slide, full slide, and then we've had ID in the mic and stuff in the past. So it'll always be something. I think that coverage will be stuff that we just continue to pound on. But the guys working on it have done outstanding job, especially if you look to like where 25 is, where it is now, the options that you have, the features that are added. Absolutely. Is there going to be something? But yeah, there's something there. And is that a bug? Is that the exception? Is that the rule? I mean, so there's that. We're not going to cheat you.
For sure.
We don't want to do that. So
not on purpose anyway, like
no, 100. Yeah, we're not gonna, just go ahead and snatch him and but no, don't want to do it.
And I always say you can always get better. I'll never say anything's a 10 out of 10. Even if it's 9.5, there's still more you can go after, and and that's what's great about it. But I want to ask, you're gonna get a lot of complaints no matter what, and it's kind of a two-part question because I'm gonna have a follow-up to this. But what is something that is maybe like a common complaint from us in the community that like on your end the data doesn't support? Like maybe are we misunderstanding something? Are we wrong about a specific thing? And on your end the data says, well, it's not this way, throughout the majority of people that are playing our game. Is there anything like that you could like put your finger on?
I don't think anybody's wrong. People have a way that they see the game. We respect everybody, love them all. I love all the enthusiasts. I think the one that is kind of tougher for me is that's just me personally, is pursuit. And I say that because like I remember when I'd come over to Madden, coming from college, and like when we were first doing college, right? I told you like wide open. The guys that we really tried to get initially were like Reggie Bush, Peter Warwick, those guys, Pat White, those guys that could really make plays in the open field just on the left stick, right? Just on the left stick. You could go and make somebody miss. And then as we go to Madden and you look at like Saquon, and I think that God, was it 2 years ago, right? He had like 6 of his touchdown runs were over 60 plus yards. And Eric, he's just outrunning pursuit angles. Right? You think you're there, and then just his speed is there. And we have different ones. We have over pursuits, under pursuits, ideal. I just think it's like, community, be careful in certain terms of like, you don't want Terminator there, right? Where it's just every time it's perfect. Every time it's here. Like you won't get any big plays. So we're always taking in ratings and all that stuff into effect to make sure that, ideally it's as authentic as possible. That's the goal.
That is true, honestly, because if pursuit was perfect every play, it's one of those things where, because even I complain about pursuit all the time, like in the heat of the game. But if pursuit was perfect every play, sometimes I don't think people, even myself included, don't realize how much less fun that would make the game. Like you said, you wouldn't be able to make big plays because people already hate when it feels like the AI in certain situations, like they're running the route for you on defense, let's say, or they just know exactly what's happening. They're psychic, and if you had perfect pursuit every play, it would be like that. And then also, especially more so in college than NFL, but I remember when College 25 launched, and a lot of people were saying the pursuit was bad, and then literally in the first week of college game, I was like, and we were like tweeting. Yeah, we were tweeting about it too. It's like, man, that looked like college football 25 pursuit right there. But it's because, especially in college, there's a lot of bad pursuit angles. But even still, even if it's not bad, some players are just able to outrun them. And so, is it an area that I think anything can improve? But I like making big plays. So I don't like having big plays made on me though. So it kind of goes both ways, I guess.
No, I get it, and it doesn't mean anything's perfect either, right? But I think that's kind of it. When Saquon is taking that stretch, and then he hits the hole, and then here you got this safety trying to make a play, and it's like, boom, just watch him. Watch the runs of that year, like his 6 that were over 60 something. Don't quote me exactly, but I think it was somewhere in that realm. He is just flat outrunning people, where the guys think he's there, and then bam, he gets the corner and he's gone. And so we were watching those clips 1-to-1. What does it look like in our game? But those types of taking real data and putting it 1-to-1 with our game is, where we've been heading.
Now, with that said, I'm curious. So this is the other part of the question. Is there a common complaint in the community that you would say they're absolutely right about, and like that's something I still want to tackle, get addressed? This needs to be better. Is there anything particular like that?
I think probably initially last year with the drop picks, some of those videos that you would see, those guys coming downhill. It's like, probably, all right, what was that? Did he just was it just a bad chance? What player was it? But yeah, not really. I mean, that stuff, not saying the community is wrong, definitely not. But nothing that comes offhand. That was the early one, but I think more or less you go in and address those and fix those. And I haven't heard anything since we've released it, so everything's been pretty positive on that.
Yeah, I know. I sent you some clips last year because I was like these, and you would say you were like, yeah, no, that like some of the clips I was sending you, you're like, no, those should absolutely be caught. We gotta look into that. So, nothing's perfect, but yeah, drop picks is always a big complaint for me. But we got timing based catching now, so hopefully
That's right.
it's in our hands.
TBC, turn it on, pal.
So
That was something those people were talking to me about. So yeah,
yeah,
it's
for
good
sure.
though. That's it. You got TBC, but two, even for the ones that don't use it, like, hey, yeah, if he should, he should go ahead and catch that. But it doesn't mean, what was that Madden's famous quote too? If that's why they're not wide receivers and they're DBs
Yeah.
because of their hands.
So my next thing is this is another like just hot topic for years,
Sure.
even before college was back, with Madden. A lot of people feel like the ratings don't matter enough. They don't feel like there's a big enough difference between say a 75 and a 90 overall. Obviously there's a difference, but it doesn't stand
Sure.
out the way people think
100%.
it should, and that's why a lot of people think abilities became to be. What's your thought on ratings? Are they more important than we think they are? Is there work to be done there? Like, how do you feel about them?
Oh, they certainly play into that. I mean, you look at like just the tush push this year or the quarterback sneak. I mean, we're taking in everything. Every blocking rating, every defensive rating, their strength ratings. I mean, all of those happen. I mean, again, that could be said with baseball, basketball, right? What's the difference between an 88 jump rating and a 92? When I was on the basketball space for years, that was always discussed in that realm. Same things, but no, they are pivotal, and they certainly play a big part into what we do.
Well, speaking of that, now my next thing here is I know a lot of people have wondered this for years. This is more of a Madden question than a college question, but how much of the game is built, around competitive balance versus realism, right? Competitive versus sim. Obviously, in Madden we have the different settings, but like people like sim players still want to go online and try to play their way. And like if there is like a conflict, let's say, like is there a side that wins out? Are you going to lean
Football,
competitive balance or sim?
football, football.
Okay.
Always, always, always. That's why we got rid of no. I mean, no eyes, no picks, and that doesn't mean like, hey, we're gonna undermine the defense or anything. But if you remember, I mean, you were throwing go balls. You had guys beat on that 9 route, and guys are jumping up over the top in games prior, and it was like just for the sake of balance. Like there were routes and concept that you couldn't even throw because of just how frequently they were picked. And then again, he's running full speed without even having to turn around. So that was another football solution to that football problem. And then we wanted, hey, we have a SWAT button. No one was ever using SWAT, and now they are. You're looking now, I got to hit LB. I'm sure you would probably attest to that now for the first time and who knows how long. But we are a simulation product. We are always going to err on the side of football. And I always look at it. I joke with the guys in here, that have won tournaments that are as good as it gets. Whatever we give them, they're going to be good at, right? Like whatever I give you, Eric, like you're gonna adapt, you're gonna adjust, just like you did with the pre-play controls, and you'll be, just fine. But we got to reward football, and I'm still looking for our goal to find like who is the Andy Reid of Madden football, right? Who's the play sequencing, setting up, and different play calls. Oh, I've run this wide zone a couple times. Now I'm booting off of it, and we're playing that. And to me, it looks better, has a better feel to it. So like custom adjustments will bring that hopefully, so it's not people going hot route, hot route, hot route, hot route, hot route, hot route, and the camera's moving back and forth 20 times. You remember when, you see it, home field advantage?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean, you're an LSU guy, so it's a little different, right? Are you playing with LSU online?
Yeah. I mean, more times than I don't. Sometimes no, because I don't love their playbook, and you couldn't change the playbook in Road to the College Playoffs. So I didn't play with them as much as I would if I could have changed the playbook. But
you love complaining about the playbook change.
I want
you?
my playbook, man, and that's
Well,
why
you remember in
I
14,
lean.
I didn't even work
more.
on 14, but 14 there was like people played with 3 or 4 teams, and then they just cycled through the playbooks, and that was all you got. Now you're at least seeing so much more variety. I'm playing against like Arkansas. I get the use case of it. I get it. But in that mode, the sim head me kind of struggles a little bit.
I don't know if you can answer this or not, but this is there like a feature or something that you've wanted to put in the game but you just haven't been able to get it yet, whether it maybe be limitations or time or other things just took more priority? Is there something big that you still like want to go after that you haven't been able to do yet?
certainly no tech limitations. Like we got, like, I don't know, our guys in here are awesome. No, I'm dating myself, but I was a day one, in Madden in the old PS2 era. I'd be the guy waiting at GameStop at midnight. I was a day one Dreamcast guy, the day that dropped. But I say that only to give you a background of, like, if you remember the Vision Cone that had dropped in 06, and you have a lot of your old sim heads and Do It that talked about it. Not the Vision Cone. I definitely think there's something in there with eyes and quarterbacks and looking guys off. And you remember when we put the pump fake stuff in? It's still in, in 25, and actually had it matter to who you were doing, when he played, when he was able to bite. In that smash concept 4-7, you could throw and get that corner up so you could get a clear read to throw behind him. Because the art of the pump fake is a thing. I definitely think there's something out there with eyes. We had tried many different different passing things over the years, even earlier before 25 shipped. So there's a lot there in terms of that, but I don't know. It's something like we haven't been able to get in. No, the football head in me and what people are seeing with a Stafford comparative to, your rookie quarterback that rolls in.
So another thing I'm curious about, because you seem really big on, like, signature animations for players looking like themselves. I remember you talked a lot, a year ago we had to talk about how they release the ball, throw the ball, and obviously the way people run, locomotion, even down to, I gotta throw it in there, the equipment movement, right?
Shout out to the equipment people. We love the equipment movement, by the way. Look good, feel good, play good. You play good, they pay good.
But, like, just all of that is in one, like the way players throw, move, the way they look. Like, how important is that for you, for the immersion? And I think sometimes people, because we see a big complaint, I know you see this, people are like, I don't care about anything, make sure gameplay is good. And then the other side of people are like, they can make gameplay good and make the authenticity good too. How important is the authenticity of how the player looks and how they act? How important is that to gameplay itself? Because I don't think those things are, like, exclusive. I think they go hand in hand, and I think other people think they're just two completely separate things when they shouldn't be viewed that way.
Sure. I mean, that's a solid take. I mean, they're certainly different in that realm, but I get it. There's the immersion, piece, and every player is somebody's favorite player. So if Dion, doesn't look right, I go back to, like, when we were growing up, right? He's got the gloves undone. He's got the crinkled socks. He's got his prime shoes. He's got the chin. I mean, his swag was on a whole nother level. And so if you don't see that, that can break immersion for some people. But I mean, like, that's our equipment push this year was, hey, you want dangling mouthpieces, you want the one leg sleeve, you want all that, you want the logos on the back plates, on the towels. That stuff's important. So we heard it, saw it. I mean, there's guys in here that are lifelong Madden and college players too, right? But if you remember when we got done with 25, so in 25, the thing is, like, the quarterback is the iconic position, right? And so my goal was always to have our guys, that should look as good as a jumper in basketball, right? The artistic form, how good it looks, everything from the drop back to the different ball holds. Every quarterback should get that type of treatment. But again, we just had to change too how the ball, came out of the hand, which finger it was leaving, all that. And then on top of that, your story, if you remember I was telling you about too, like in 25, that was our start too, with all the different trajectories and the realistic ball speeds, and throw power is now not only how far you can throw it, but how hard you could throw it, and really starting to differentiate that. But those all kind of played into that big quarterback story. But authenticity is at the forefront, like, of what we do.
Yeah, that's what all it is. Some people say, well, this doesn't matter, but to some people it does matter. And if you see it on Sunday, if it's possible, we want to see it in the game. And I think from the biggest request to the smallest request, if it's seen in the game, it should be in the game, if it's possible.
This is like a scouting report literally for the NFL or college, right? I mean, we added 2,800 new plays just in college last year, right? Like anything, every type of thing that is being going. And so we've got the right guys on the bus. Those guys are executing it. Outstanding team. So that's really where we're trying to go. But that could be anything from, like, a tush push to this guy's got, the crinkled socks or whatever. This guy's helmet is slightly tilted, the tilt helmet culture that is out there. You might be one of them. You might be one
You
of
gotta
them.
have the tilt, man.
You gotta have the tilt, man. You gotta have the tilt. So the tilt, the tilt is there. I think what's crazy too, having a son who's a high school quarterback, like, I don't know how you feel about it, but like, I don't know. And hopefully guys in your comments can tell me whether I'm right or wrong, but like helmet culture has like kind of turned into a lower version of like sneaker culture. Like you talk to teenagers like, oh dude, I gotta have this, I gotta have the Shut F7, I gotta have the Speed TD, I gotta blah blah blah. And it's like that, the mask, and that was important when I was in school, and the face mask that you wore, but you were more or less trying to, emulate your favorite dude.
Helmet is
Quarterback.
likeness now, because I see
Yes.
videos pop up a lot of times, like if I'm scrolling, it could be TikTok or something, and it'll be like memes. It'll be like, oh, when you get this helmet, at the start of the season, and it's a helmet that they deem, it's old. It's a bucket, they call it. You're like, I want the F7, or like I need the Speed Flex.
Yeah.
Kids want the cool helmet, the right face mask. Like that's part of their identity now. So it really is a big deal these days. This brings me to something else. I don't know if you can answer this, but I have to ask, because like I've done some videos on my channel in the past. Like, I'll go through every Madden, score a touchdown with Brady, or go through the old NCAA games and score
Great
touchdowns.
Great video.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It's, the Brady one's my most viewed video, but not just that, but like the older games, a lot of times, they kind of celebrated football history more. And I know there's like licensing, copyright stuff. Is there like a chance that we see something like, we know like with, when you were over at 2K, like they do errors mode, like, and I know that's harder to do for a football game because the teams are bigger, but like, even if it's like all time teams or like some Heisman challenges, is there any kind of goal to try to find workarounds or just ways to bring that history element back to the games? Because that's something a lot of us like to see, is just going back, because you got to think this game was gone for 10 years. So we didn't get to play with 2019 LSU, and I would love to do that.
Oh,
So
how did I know you were going to pull that
you're
one?
a USC guy. I know you want to play with Reggie Bush
Yep.
and, Matt Leinart with like updated graphics. You know what I mean? So like, is there
Okay,
any?
there you go. I was going to say, well, I did get to play with them, and
I'm talking about like, but looking
I
as good
know,
as the game looks now. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Is there any possibilities of that in the future? Is it something you'd like to do?
No, there's probably not much. I mean, there's not there. I could say. I mean, you're going to go out and license different players, but I think the nostalgia and era of those guys is certainly important. But no, we definitely see it. But yeah, I should have known that you were coming in with the Joe Burrow. That might have been the best offensive college team I've ever seen.
I
By the
need
way,
to play with Burrow, Jefferson, Chase. Derek Stingley. It was, I just wish I would have had that in a video game, and the game wasn't back just yet. So
you're the one that was awesome about that video. When was that? About 3-4 years ago you did that?
yeah, it's Madden 22, so it's been a while now,
Okay.
about 5 years.
Okay.
The Brady
No, I
one,
just
that is.
remember it. That's right. I'm just thinking of like the one awesome thing about it is just you did the nostalgia that starts to kick in, at least for myself. Where you were when you bought the game. I don't want to date myself too much with that because I go back, especially Super Nintendo days with Madden, but and all the different features and Summerall, and then Michael's coming in, and shoot, I remember Collinsworth and Tom Hammond, and then we got the Gus bus in there.
I think a lot of people our age and close around our age is kind of who likes to watch my channel, and like they love the old games, the nostalgia, and like they want to see some, like I said, some of those older things come back. And I think y'all have done a good job at bringing some of them back, but there's always a longer list of things to go after. So that's
No,
why
we
I'm just
did
curious.
that. We certainly did that. You kind of, and again, it's not just they don't rehashing. No, certainly not. But there were certain things you kind of looked at. I remember when we were first working on Dynasty. You go back to like the Gen 2 2006 as a big, just source of, taking a look at that. And we were looking at everything that 14. So that was a lot of fun, but really what went well, because there's trial and error in all of these things too, right? All right, you did that and you have a lot of experience in this building that said, oh, we did this back then. This didn't work. We tried this in 2006 or 2005. This was great. This didn't do so well. So you're always trying to lean on that and not just say, oh, they have this and, let's go ahead and just take from it.
I mean, I can see that you guys are listening. Some people may say, oh, they don't listen. I think there was a period of
You
time.
think they still say that now after these past 3 years?
Yeah, well, I think there was a period of time, this was before you were there, of course, where it didn't feel like we were being heard as much. and maybe they were trying to do different things, because you're balancing like the people that are making the game, like they have a vision too, and they're like, well, we think this would be good, this is a direction we want to go, and then maybe us, we're like, well, we want you to go this direction, and you try to balance it. But there were years where we kind of didn't feel like we were getting heard. I do think these last few years specifically, there's been a lot brought back to the game, but then some people say, well, it should have never been removed, and that's a fair point. I know things get removed for different reasons, either like you want to make them better, but it takes time to redo it.
Yeah, the intent is always, no matter who is in this position or been in the seat before, promotes. I mean, it's always a good intent.
But here's the thing, too. It doesn't matter how much you do, because like I can bring up other things, right? It depends on what you want out of the game, right? So if you're a person, let's say your number one request for the college football game is you want the FCS teams. We still don't have that. So if you don't get that, and like in that person's mind, like, well, I'm not being heard, because that is the number one thing I want. Or if the number one thing you wanted in Road to Glory was like, I want to play left tackle. Well, you got 3 new positions this year, but if you want to play left tackle, well, you're still going to feel like you're not being heard. So it's, no matter what you do, like, there's going to be people that the top 3 things on their list maybe aren't things you did that year. But for, another few hundred people, you did do the top 3 things that they wanted. So it all depends on the person and what they want, out of that game for themselves,
Sure. I just look at, even I was just writing this down, like you got wear and tear, switch stick, custom sims, the QB vision stuff where height matters in the pocket, all that kind of custom adjustments now, timing based catching, all the block. I'm like, another one that I think that was asked for years. It might have been on your guys' videos. I know it was on a couple other guys, like stunts and twists. Right?
Oh yeah, that was a massive ask for at least a decade.
Totally, right? And so it was like just those things of constant, again, all in the realm of just authentic football.
So with all that said, I'm curious of just your answer for this, because this is a thing I talk to with a lot of my like other YouTube buddies, just people in the community. My friend RBT, I know you're familiar with him. He's really big on this one. He's really big on this one. How do you grow the game? Because obviously, you say, well, we make the best game possible. We make gameplay as good as possible. Our pillar modes, our Dynasty, our Road to Glory, our, for the online people, Ultimate Team, whatever the case, our pillar modes have to be good for those players. But all that aside, because I think what brings new people to the game sometimes, everybody could say just make the best game possible and it'll sell. And that's true to an extent, but you still need new things to bring in new people, young people even. That's how you keep people on the game. That's how you keep it growing, whether it be a new game mode or just a different way, more authenticity, a different way to really bring people in. Open world's a big discussion. I know even if that's coming, I know that's not something you'd be able to talk about even if it was happening. But just in your opinion, is there like something you see in the future of like, this is how we grow the game outside of maybe the obvious answers?
Outside of the obvious answers, I mean, we've just on the gameplay side just been so focused on what I'd mentioned, boring your audience, talking about it for the past hour. I think always you're just, trying to, make just connected experiences, just be as authentic as you can. But that's what I look at, like in terms of like growing the game, how socially can the game be, but gameplay in that realm is the main one.
You're always going to be the football guy first. I feel like that's just, you're going to say the gameplay has to be it. It has
well, because
like
in my opinion, like that selfishly, like, if the gameplay's no good, we're letting everybody down.
Yeah,
we're not letting
everybody's got to play.
I go play franchise and all this dope things that they put into it this year. Oh, and then I get onto the field and meh. Like that just can't happen, right? And so that's the thing. We've been building these systems, now hot and cold coming to Madden, or wear and tear. Guy gets banged up in week 2. Is he the same when he gets into week 3? Well, now you have the control to change that. So I look at just, in terms of your question though, just growing the game, just keep building systems, be authentic with the sport, continue to build these mechanics and things that are, fun to the user and have depth and breadth to them. So it's probably, it's a multitude of things, but it's always going to be the collective though. I know that sounds pretty cliche, but that's about as honest as I can be. What's a EricRayweather requested feature or features?
I like the little details, so like I'd like to see field storming. I think that'd be cool. I know that probably isn't something you might be able to do because people don't like it, like maybe certain teams or, whatever. maybe all teams don't like it. Like stuff like that. I think the open world stuff, I think for Road to Glory could be cool. I think that's another polarizing one. A lot of people are like, we don't want this, because I think 2K, like it was fun in 2K and then it got carried away and then people didn't like it. But I think there's a balance to be had there. I think you can do it in a way that's not, if you're going to do an open world, you don't want it to take away from the game. You want it to kind of add to the game. And I think with 2K at a time, it started just taking away from just being able to get on and just play against people and enjoy the game. It became like a chore. I think there's a balance to be had there. I think if I was to say what's one thing that would bring new people to the game, that's what I feel the answer is, even if it's not something that I 100% would probably play myself. I think that's what like younger people want. And no matter what, you still want to appeal to younger people to a certain degree, because as people get older and they age out of the game, like you want new people coming in to replace them. It's the same with real sports. They're constantly trying to get younger viewers, because if you never get younger viewers, then eventually at some point it dies, you know? So I try to think of what would people play, because I know with Madden, like believe it or not, when like Superstar KO was introduced in 20, a lot of people played it. When, you know, Draft Champions was a thing in 16, a lot of people played it. They loved those modes, and those weren't pillar modes. Those were kind of like side things, but they brought new people to the game, and then you bring those people to the game and eventually they graduate into playing a dynasty or just going online head to head. So
we're all ears. I would love to hear comments on your guys' like top 3 features they would want. Have you already asked that?
Everybody's got a different top 3. Everybody's got a different top 3.
I would love to see it just in general and see like, these are features I would love. Would that blow up your comment section?
Yeah, well, hopefully y'all drop some below. I could say, I think confidently one top 3 thing is people, at least for the Road to Glory crowd, they want like the full high school season instead of the moments. I think having both options would be great. I'm not a big high school Road to Glory guy. I want to get to college. So like for me, the moments are good. But for other people, they're like, no, I want to play a season or 2 seasons. I feel like the option should be there. I think that's a really big request I see.
Awesome team over there. So, I mean, guys are always listening.
A lot of people want open world. A lot of people don't. That one's just going to be polarizing either way. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, a lot of things, it's the little things people request. Just those little things that maybe still aren't there yet. But, you know, 20 little things add up. And same with equipment, right? Like, you add 10 to 15 new pieces of equipment. Those are all little things. But now collectively, people that are into that, they're like, wow, I got all this new stuff that I can put on my player now. And it makes a big deal. So a lot of people just care about the details, you know, more than anything.
I get it. I respect it, because that's it. That's it. It's the attention to detail, man. That is in my opinion, is the real separator in anything. So yeah, that's it. But I mean, in terms of these 2 games and what they're bringing and separating them in that way, and then both kind of being on that same feature stack, really for the most part, it's nice. It is. I like it a lot. So, because if you remember, right in 25 when we were in that room, like why is wear and tear not in Madden? Why didn't it start here? You know, so stuff like that. So it's like, boom, this got this, it's got this. It's tuned how it's supposed to be tuned, and balanced how it's supposed to be. And then, you know, we'll wait for, you know, everybody to get their hands on it here soon.
Yeah, we tell you the same stuff the people online tell you. We'll sit there and tell you what we don't like. You know, fix this, or we'd like to see this. And I mean, everybody's gonna selfishly push for what they want, you know. So, and then it's up to you to filter that out, you know, and say what's the right feedback, what's you know, the wrong feedback. Not saying feedback is wrong, but like you got to filter what has more merit than others. Like what is like a constant theme across people. What would actually be better for the whole player base. You can't just listen to, you know, one segment of people.
Working here is a privilege, man. It's not a right. I'm super blessed. I know a lot of our team is, man, just dreaming of being able to work here. And so I think that was the great part about a few weeks ago when we were there, and just everything. It's when I first got in the industry, it was like, you know, if there was a trivia about the history of Madden, I feel like I'm in the 99th percentile in this, you know, and just you live it. And dude, I was running lines in college at a college practice because we were arguing about the vision cone that I could beat you with Rex Grossman. I was a gamer before I was an athlete, and you know, then coming in and believing in certain things from a gaming perspective, not even just a former professional athlete, and seeing those things come with the help of our amazing squad. So, and just where we're going to go from here is what's really exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see too, because as excited as I am for 27 now, I can't wait to play it. I can't play 26 anymore because, you know, once you step forward, it's hard to go back. But I'm already thinking about 28. That's just how, I'm sure your mind's the same way, you know, but it's like, what's coming next? It's because
Sure.
You always want to know
Sure.
where are we going now, you know? So
Always. And you have your plans and stuff that you're going to do. And that's no different anywhere else I've ever worked. I'll keep my ear to the streets. We'll be playing the game. Our guys will be playing. Guys will come into my office like they do today. I don't know, G. What about this, this, and this? I feel this may happen. That's why you saw me tweet. Like, I think the meta probably starts defensive heavy early and then starts to slowly change. People understanding that, like, custom adjustments, all the things that we added, how fast people can get to them now and get to their setups. Home field advantage is not, custom adjustments is, home field is immune to home field advantage.
cool. I appreciate you taking the time to, so close to launch. I know y'all are still working on stuff, so I appreciate you taking the time to talk to not really just me, but talk to the people, because that's who it's for. It's for the people. It's for the viewers, for the community. Is there any like last things you want to leave with before we get out of here?
Oh man, thanks for having me. This is fun. The other ones I get to do right now, you guys, I mean, you have one of the bigger audiences, so this is a lot of fun. Speak to the players. Curious to see what they say in the comments in terms of features and stuff that they would like to see in the future. That's always good. Again, it's your guys' game. Hopefully we're making everybody proud here. I know there's things that happen and mistakes, but hopefully our guys and everything are giving you a product that you're super happy of and proud to play and play it for a while, because I know we certainly are. So, and again, dude, this is the best time of the year, right? You're not a big baseball guy, too. Shout out to my Dodgers. Oh, and I know I probably turned a lot of people off. Oh yeah, got my Dodgers going for the three-peat. You got Enna College right around the corner. So yeah, exciting time here for those guys. I don't know how many baseball fans you're even gonna have in here, E.
And now you got Myles Garrett, man. The rich get richer.
Oh, dude, but just smart, just
Good
smart.
move. That's
We're
a good
going in.
move.
We're going in. Let's go win it. Winners win. You know the motto, E.
Oh man, I haven't had any winning lately, so hopefully LSU maybe this year. We'll see.
You've done some winning though. You've been all right.
It's been a minute. I need some wins.
Well, yeah. Thank you, man.
It's
This
good
has been
talking
awesome.
to you as always. I appreciate it, and we'll see what the comments say. And you got to be lurking, and whatever they ask for, you got to put it in the game. That's the
There you
deal.
go.
So
That's right. Shout out to everybody that that listened to all this. This is a lot of fun.